It's time for us to take back our communities and create unity. Community vibes with BrownEyes. Come take a walk with me. Community vibes with BrownEyes. Hit it, King T finesse. We hit the streets running. You know we coming. Building with knowledge to inform, to bring the love in. It's the unity in our community. Reform, move on to be strong. It takes you and me. Bring the issues, let's talk about it. Make a plan, bring it to life and never doubt it. To inspire, keep you going higher. Words put to action, fuel to the fire. Life gets better when we do it together. BrownEyes, King T, finesse, time to get up. Get up. Get up. For everyone, the best. Hit it, King T, finesse. Join in and catch the vibe. Join in and catch the vibe. The vibe of great community workers, great community builders, and the community coming together as a whole. Welcome to another episode. Matter of fact, our fourth episode of Community Vibes with BrownEyes. We're so glad you're here for another great episode. We have some wonderful guests once again. Powerful people in the community doing some powerful things, and I want to briefly introduce them to you. I have our wonderful author of 6 great books. We have 4 of them sitting right before you. She's not only that, but she's an educator, she's an advocate, and she's done so many wonderful things that we're going to talk about today. Introducing to you Miss Athena Dent-Alleyne.
Hey everybody, how is everybody doing?
And then we have her wonderful son, professional model, Daniel Z Leid. Daniel Z Leid. Now, Daniel has autism, but guess what? He has developed a lot through modeling. We're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about how different activities that we apply ourselves to can be a help for us to create change in our lives. But first of all, I just want to tell you about Community Vibes with BrownEyes. Is a project that was designated to reach into the depths of the community to shine light on those who are often overlooked. People like community leaders, activists, nonprofit organizations, performance, music of musicians and leaders in the community, and young people just like you and me, just regular residents, people who took their skill and their time to come out into the community and take their ideas, visions, and gifts to bring about a avenue for people to create change or develop success in their lives. And that's what Community Vibes is for, bringing those people together. And is our, we want to bring them together to not only shine light, but talk about it and show everybody all the great things that's being done in our communities. Because there's a lot of great things being done in our communities, but only the negative things get the spotlight. So Community Vibes was created to spotlight those good things and those great people so you could get to know them, see what they're doing, get involved if you choose, or support them, which is very much needed between us to grow a better community for ourselves. So we're happy to be here. And today's show, we're going to be talking about storytelling for change. That means storytelling and talking, meaning journaling your life and putting it on paper, or even speaking it on audio and recording it to give to people so that people can relate to what you've been through or relate what you have learned and help them to create an idea for change in their life. And so a lot of this is about journalism with Athena, because Athena wrote a lot of great books that are being used now in programs and individually to help people to learn through her experiences, her education, her expertise, so that they can have a vision and some type of inspiration to change, in their life. But before we get to her books and all the great work that she is doing, I want to kick this off with a video to give you some tips about journaling and the importance of it in terms of your mental health. Let's roll that video.
Journaling for mental health. How can you use journaling to help release negative emotions and actually boost your mental health? The first thing I want you to write down is your emotion. What are you feeling right now? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling upset? Are you feeling annoyed? What are you feeling? Number 2, what caused that emotion? This is the venting stage. You can write down every single thing that you're feeling, why you're feeling that way, everything that she said, he said, or your boss is doing, or whatever. It's your time to write it out. Number 3, what deeper thoughts because of this emotion are you harboring on and even claiming as truth for yourself? Are you saying, oh my gosh, I will never blah, blah, blah. Or, oh my gosh, they always blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, I am so blah, blah, blah. What are the deeper thoughts that you're claiming as truth right now? Journal that. Number 4, when have you had this feeling before? When has this feeling risen up in you and you felt like this before? So number 5 is to write down how you want to feel. Now, this is not just some like ooey gooey type thing. It actually is scientific. When we think about these happy emotions, I want to feel brave, I want to feel courageous, I want to feel secure, I want to feel these feelings. When we think about these emotions, our brain actually develops chemicals to match those feelings. Can you believe that? Oh, our brain is amazing. Okay, number 6 is to challenge the thoughts. So I want you to look back at number 3, those deeper thoughts that you wrote down, and journal. Number 7, what is true? Going back to presentation example, maybe I'm nervous right now. I am nervous actually, but I am fully capable. I can do this. Like, that is the truth. That is literally the truth. Number 8, what are some things that have proven that truth before? This is your time to go back in history again, but actually in a positive way. What proves that you're capable? What proves that you'll be okay? What proves that you'll be secure? Find them, search for them. Number 9, you're gonna write out how you can walk in this truth today. What small steps can you do to prove to yourself that this is actually the truth? When we put action behind our words, our brain kicks into action saying, snap, she's doing it, she's not that afraid, like maybe this is normal. Make this thing familiar by proving it with your actions. So the purpose of this exercise is to not pretend like your emotions don't exist. Not to pretend like you're not feeling whichever you felt and to just ignore it. That is not the purpose of it. The purpose is to acknowledge how you're feeling and learn how to manage it in a healthy way. And then actually control what you can control. What you can control is how you think, how you act, and how you react. You cannot control the situation, but we can control how we choose to act and react to that situation, and that is what this journaling exercise will help you to do. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.
All right, shout out to Nays Labs.
That was awesome.
Some powerful
That was
tips, and I'm
truly
sure
awesome.
you know, as
Yes.
an educator and as someone who is an author who did journaling and writing,
Yes.
that works. But I'm going to turn it over to you now, because I'm sure our viewers are excited to want to know who is this wonderful woman that has all these great talents and want to share with us. So who are you? Where did you grow up? And what are some of the things that inspired you?
Okay, so hey everybody, how's everybody doing out there? So I just want to thank Nichelle for having me on her show. I love doing podcasts because you just get to share. You get to share about not just what you do, but who you are and the blessings of the life that you've had. So I got to start off by saying I'm a nerd, very proud of it.
Okay, that's all right.
Yes,
Nothing wrong with nerds.
And I was born and raised in the Boogie Down Bronx.
Boogie Down
South
Bronx, shout
Hey
out
there.
New York City. New York City.
Yes, very proud. I came from a community that was about family, nurturing, and just looking out for each other.
Right.
I came from a very strong background, mom, dad. I am the third of 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
Life came up with very humble beginnings.
Right.
My dad, he was one of the best fathers that a daughter could ever have, from the beginning to the end. And I called him Pop.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me such valuable life lessons. He taught me about money, health. My father was very, very big on health. You know, he was a former bodybuilder. They used to call him the Black Jack LaLanne. We grew up, yeah.
I remember Jack LaLanne. You gotta be, that tells your age when you talk about Jack LaLanne.
Oh, yes.
And the little tights and all the little exercises on the floor. Yeah, I know all about it. My mom used to, you know, with the leotard, do the exercises.
I actually have a picture of him in Coney Island standing in front of a sign that Nathan's hot dogs was 1 cent.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
so it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
so I grew up, you know, eating holistically. My father juiced.
Wow, okay.
He juiced for over 60 years.
Wow.
He started in his 20s. He was famous in the community for his carrot cake. Baked it from scratch.
Loves me some carrot cake.
Yes, and he passed down the recipe to me. Things were a little bit different from my mom. My mom, and it's important for me that people understand that sometimes you see certain things, you don't quite understand why there's a certain type of behavior.
Right.
You know, you kind of just think, okay, well, you know, that's the person's personality.
Absolutely.
You know, life began for me at a very young age, the responsibilities of a parent at 12 years old.
Wow, that's very young.
Because of the fact that when you think of a mother, you think of somebody who is nurturing, take care of the home, work. That wasn't really necessarily the case.
Right.
So I just have this very nurturing spirit. I love to clean. I love things in order. So it really wasn't like I didn't feel like I was being thrown in.
Right.
It just came naturally. If the dishes weren't done, I did the dishes. If the clothes weren't washed, I washed the clothes.
So what you're saying is at the age of 12,
yes,
you had to take on a lot of responsibilities that a parent would normally do.
Absolutely.
You know, to stand in for what your mom, you know, couldn't do.
Right.
You know, okay.
And then you know, there's a lot of children that have had to experience that.
Absolutely.
And so at the age of 41, my mom became pregnant with my younger sister. It was unexpected. You know, my mother wasn't in the greatest of health. And then when my sister was 2 months old, my mother walked out and never came back.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, you know, my dad and I, we just put our heads together and said, you know, are you going to be okay with this? I said, Dad, I'm fine. That's my sister. I'm going to raise her. And that's exactly what I did, you know. And
let's
you
give
know,
her a round of applause for that. I mean, like, stepping in such a powerful role. Like, I'm sure a lot of people go through that, and people don't know how much you have to do to hold that role down. So, you know, like, you know, wow, that's a lot.
And, you know, I just want to say, you know, it's not an easy thing. You know, we weren't rich.
Right.
We weren't wealthy. My dad was a hardworking man. He never took a sick day in his life. And I just began to step into the role as the mother, taking her to daycare, going to school. And as time went on, you know, I kind of had to make the sacrifices on my own life. My goal was to be a doctor.
Wow.
You know, I just love to see people healthy and happy.
You like to nurture and help people and care for people.
Right. So when this happened, I was like, okay, I just kind of like just went on and just gave my sister the best.
Right.
You know, I started working at 14, and you know, I would take some of my Saturday to make sure.
That's the first age you could get your working
papers.
Yeah,
exactly. I couldn't wait.
You know, like wow.
But, you know,
I remember the little card they give you. 14
exactly.
to 16.
That
you
white
get your
card.
Little working permit to work.
Yes.
You know,
I couldn't wait. I'm very very productive person. I love just being very independent. I've always been like that from a kid. So, you know, I got my first job at Popeye's Fried Chicken on 42nd Street.
Well, that's
and
funny.
I
went My first job was at Bojangles. The chicken people.
Exactly. You know, so after school, I would take the train, go to Manhattan.
Right.
And, you know, and it was just a routine.
Right.
So anyway, to make a long story short, I was getting school late. I was getting to school late.
Right.
You know, it became excessive. I never missed a day of school, but I was getting to school late. So anyway, to make a long story short, I had to go to an alternative school. I was devastated. I was devastated because I was an A student, very studious.
Right.
A's 100.
You were handling a lot of things.
I know. So for me, it was very difficult being able to know that I wouldn't be able to go to my prom. I wouldn't be able to go to my high school graduation.
Right.
And I kind of had to go into my cave of emotions and say, okay, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay because your sister's nurturing is more important. So I enrolled in an alternative school in the Bronx, and I got my GED on the first shot.
Great.
And then I said, okay, so since I'm not going to become a doctor, I'll go into nursing.
Okay.
So at that time, I went from Popeyes to a health food store, worked there for 8 years, and I enrolled in nursing school. I became a certified nursing assistant, and I worked in Bronx Lebanon Hospital for 4 years in NICU, the nursery, and the maternity ward. So I would float to the different departments and labor.
That's that caring still.
Yes.
You want to care.
And so now it's so funny because when I first started, I started in what they call it med surge. And then when I found out that the hospital had a nursery, I was like, please, I want to
You want to work there with the young people.
Yeah, so
babies.
for 9 months, I worked in med surge, and then a spot opened up, and I was in, and I loved it.
Now, from that point on, from there, what got you into wanting to start writing?
So anybody who is from not just the Bronx, but pretty much any city, where I live, it was rough. And yeah, it was
Brownsville,
rough.
Brooklyn for me.
Yes. So me being a nerd, I didn't dress like everybody. I didn't do everything everybody else did. I was bullied.
Okay.
I was bullied in school to the point where one day I was leaving school. It was 3 o'clock, and my so-called friend, I thought at the time, we were walking.
We had a lot of those.
Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden, I just see this crowd surrounding me, and I'm like, well, what's going on?
Right.
And so the neighborhood bully, who was half my size, she'll leave her nameless, and she said, do you want to fight? No, so funny because when I was in clay workshop class, she stood in front of the door. Usually the doors had the window, and she went like this. So I was like,
that was that see you at 3 o'clock.
Yes,
thing.
exactly. So that particular day, I had on shoes. But one thing it could be, I think it was DNA.
Right.
I didn't have any fear. I wasn't afraid. So she said, well, you want to fight? So I was like, not really, but fine. So we fought. I got a little scratch, and that was it, know.
And so from those incidents, what made you start writing? When did that epiphany come where you said, you know what, I'm going to start writing down my experiences, so that either it can help me or I can help other people?
It started at 14.
Okay. So you was writing before even all the nursing school, before all that it was from all the stuff that happened as a child and bullying in school.
Exactly. And then with the parental responsibility that was thrust upon me.
Right.
That was my way of getting out how I felt.
And so what did you do? Just keep a diary and just start journaling?
I started writing
like
poetry.
Oh, you started writing poetry?
I started writing poetry.
Me and you have a lot of in common because I started writing poetry too back in that age and before it became putting into music and start doing hip-hop music.
Yes,
so it
absolutely.
Poetry. Yeah.
And they have all of these poetry cafes now. But it started with poetry. When I would go outside, I would watch the birds and just the animals and just different things. I would look down in the grass and see the ants carrying the leaves, and that was my inspiration to write poetry. And I used to buy the black and white composition notebooks, and I would just write. And I would write, and I would write. So fast forward 25 years later, I had an interest. I said, you know what, I want to do something different. A dear friend of mine, John, he gave me a book, The Screenwriter's Diary by David Trottier. And that just opened up a whole new world to writing. And I started writing screenplays. And at that time, I had a brother's word processor.
Oh, I remember the Brothers Word.
Yes.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So now, if anybody knows about a word processor, you can type. You
Yes.
type everything you want to type, but then when you're ready to print, you got to put in one page at a time. So
yeah.
you put in the page, you take that page out, you put another page in. So it's a long process. But, you know, I wrote 5 screenplays.
Wow, what's the name of some of them?
Yes. So the first one is called Back to the East.
Okay.
And the other part 2 is called Back to the West. So basically, I grew up with, and along with my cousins, we love martial arts. So if anybody knows, on Saturday at 3 o'clock on Channel 5, you had the kid with the golden arm. You had the 5 deadly venoms. So it was every Saturday there was a martial arts film. So I was glued every Saturday. So
martial arts or either Western flicks.
Exactly.
We watched a lot of Western flicks.
And that was my dad.
Then.
My dad, I love Westerns because of my dad. We used to sit at home and watch Westerns.
Yeah, my mom loved them too.
On the weekends.
So when you started writing, what was the epiphany when you wanted to? You said it's because of the book about the screenplays, and you started writing screenplays. What inspired you to write, which I believe is your first book, called Silk?
Yes.
And that's about the 5 women who had a friendship that all went through different things and helped each other cope through them.
Absolutely.
You know, was that was that coming from experiences that you went through with friends and people, so that women could read and be inspired by their similar issues that they could relate to?
That's funny you say that. So Silk was originally a screenplay. So I'm just gonna kind of squeeze something in between. I got married.
Okay.
I had this beautiful son, and my oldest son.
Yes, the professional model, Daniel Z Leid.
And sometimes when you marry people, you think, oh, you know, I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. But as time unfolded, I started to see that I married a person who was unhappy, but was also very volatile. And it was an abusive marriage, verbally and financially. It got worse over the years. So in the 7th year, I said that was enough. And, you know, filed for divorce. And after the divorce, he came for a visit for them. They were toddlers. Oldest son 4, Daniel was 3, and he assaulted me.
Wow.
Yes. So 3 of the characters in the book are me.
Wow.
The book is about 5 generational women who are best friends, but each woman goes through her own personal life journey. So you have Crystal, Sylvia, Margaret, Joy, and Jenny. Joy is the single mother of 3. Margaret and Jenny are the matriarchs. They're in their 50s. They're both in marriages of 25 years. And then you have Sylvia and Crystal, who are career women. So it helped me heal. Writing helped me heal. You know, when you've been hurt, there's so many ways you can self-destruct.
Absolutely.
You know, you can smoke, drink, fornicate. There's so many behaviors that can come out. We're human beings.
Or just sink into depression and stifle your entire life from what you want to live. So it's real deep like that.
No, it is. You know? It is. But I was just so grateful that because I was already writing, I just started writing more. And so I now at that time, I met a wonderful man who is still now my husband 20 years later. And he said, and I didn't bring it today. I have an envelope full of 60 rejection letters. I tried to get an agent before I published Silk because, you know, I always knew spiritually that this is what I was meant to do. To be a writer. And I stopped crying after the 3rd letter. So my husband was like, listen, you're smart, you're resourceful, and You have so much energy. He said, you do it yourself. Why are you waiting to find an agent? Just do it yourself. So I went to the library, and there was an angel there waiting for me.
Every time you step out to do your purpose, there's always somebody waiting.
So at the time we lived in Yonkers.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Yonkers Riverfront Library, and I walked up to the desk, and Nanette, the librarian, and she said, "Hi, Athena." I said, "Hi, how are you?" I said, I want to publish one of my screenplays into a book. She said, she didn't go in the computer. She took out a piece of paper, wrote down, and said, "Here you go."
Wow.
So from that is how
she
Silk
helped you get Silk published.
came into
And I really
existence.
love, I didn't read the whole book, but I read a little bit about what it was about. That's how I knew about Silk, and I knew about, learned about, Emerging Cocoon, which is like the part
sequel.
two, the sequel of it.
Yes.
But what I really, really, really loved is the Francescas Journey, the whole, about the journey through the foster care system.
Yes.
And the reason why that rings a bell with me is because I was a foster care parent. And I understand in the foster care system, they have a lot of things in it that don't go well for the young people that go through there, especially when they age out into society.
Yes.
And they're, going to other homes or group homes, or got to find their way without that support that normal young people in a home that has their parent do. So it really touched me with that, because I know you've done a lot of work with this book is also in programs, in schools now, to help, young people and adults understand what that transitional process is. So I know that a lot of your work came from that, from doing, writing that and giving to people. And I'm so happy that it's in a lot of programs. So tell me a little bit about some of the youth work that you have done. And that's in conjunction with autism, because you were working with your own son, who is a professional a fashion model that is developing and doing a great job at it, which goes to show you can do anything that you put your mind to. Like she said, you write it down. The young lady said in the first video, you write it down and you recite it to yourself. Your brain believes that, and you just start performing, and eventually you become it. So I love what you were doing with Danny, and Danny is also a benefactor in the fact that from when you were 12-year-old little girl, and then you had to take care of your sister, became this caregiver, went to school for nursing, and now you have a son who's going, through his own thing. You're not going to allow that, like you didn't allow your life situation to stifle you. You say, you know what? You have that, but it doesn't have you.
Exactly.
So I'm going to put into you something so that your life can shine bright in spite of anything that could come odds against you. So I'm gonna give her a round of applause for that, because that, people, that's a powerful thing. Like, so many people are sitting home right now looking at their lives. They have regrets. They think they can't go nowhere. They can't do anything. They're down on themselves because they've been through domestic violence, because they don't feel good about themselves. Marriages didn't work. They feel worthless, used. So many things. And I lived that. I was depressed for years, and people didn't know it, because my medicine was performing on stage. But when I got off stage and I came back home, I had to face the four walls of myself, my fears, my hurts, my pains. And I didn't reach out to, talk to anybody. But I thought my life was over until I decided to go out and start writing songs, talking to people about these issues, and finding people that went through the same exact thing. Be like, girl, I went through it too. And then somebody say, I went through the same thing too. So your story is not unique to yourself.
Exactly.
It has happened to someone else.
Exactly.
And they can be inspired by you if you just get up. You're not saying you have to. I'm an open book. I can tell my story. But some people, just to hear your story, even if they're afraid to tell their own, they can be empowered.
That's right.
By knowing that, wow, this woman and this person is going through the same thing I'm going right now. And look at them. I can do the same thing. I can come up out of this.
That's right.
And that's where the blessing and the greatness of it all comes from.
That's right.
But you have done so many things. I compiled a little video so that I could show, it's so many aspects of Athena that it's such an honor to have her on the show. I had to compile a little video together to show her out in the community and to show some of her works and what she's been doing. So can we roll that video? just so touching. You have
I'm
done
like,
such wonderful things.
This is your life.
Yes, this is your life.
I'm being roasted today.
Yes,
oh my
you're
gosh.
being roasted in a good way.
Wow.
In a good way.
Thank you
and
so much.
You have done so many. I mean, it shows everything. Your sons that you are raising so wonderfully, after everything you've been through, all the love that you pour into them, and even showed a picture of you and how you work with the youth, especially with J Love's, Fashion School of Etiquette.
Yes.
J Love was on our former shows, talking about all her life story and what she does and why she want to do what she does for youth and fashion. And that's one of the organizations that Daniel gets a lot of his strength from. He loves J Love. We all love J Love.
Yes,
Shout out
we
to
do.
you, J Love. Okay?
Shout out, Jackie.
Shout out, Jackie. We love you.
Yes,
that's
we
why your
love
name
you.
is J Love.
Absolutely.
Put a lot of love on the people, and he loves J Love. But it's so much. And then we saw you with your martial arts teacher.
Yes.
That showed you how to self-defend yourself just in case anyone comes up against you, that empowers you to say, I can fight back.
Yes.
In so many ways.
Shout out to Sensei Winston McCormick from Mount Vernon, New York. Actually, when I got assaulted, I had just started. I had my white belt at the time.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And I went on to get my black belt at 41 years old in Taekwondo. I also studied.
Better not mess with her, people. I got a good friend here. Don't mess with me. Okay.
I studied Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, and pole fighting, and also Tai Chi.
Love it.
I actually had two senseis. Sensei Paul, love you too. And
I love it.
that was prayer, faith, and martial arts was my savior.
I absolutely love it, and I love that builds you so many things. Like I had a young lady on here at the last show. She talked about her name is Eliza. I always call her Eliza Marie. She's the young model, and she's into so much stuff, track and so praise dance, like into everything.
Beautiful.
Like we need to take advantage of opportunities in our communities so that we can better ourselves. I mean, physically, mentally, career-wise, there's so many things in our community, and people like you that's willing to reach out their hand and help you up and give you their experience so that you can do some great things. Now, I know you do a lot of work, especially with Francescas Journey, with young people in the program. Tell me a little bit about that, and then we'll go into, how Daniel started, doing his modeling.
Well, I just want to say that this is the blessings that God has given me through writing. I just don't want to sell books.
Right.
For me, writing is about sharing and healing and educating.
Yes.
That's why when you go on my website, my books are to heal, educate, and inspire. So I specifically wrote Francesca's Journey for a reason, because I wanted to, teach people about foster care. You'd be surprised. Back then in the 90s, nobody really knew what foster care was.
Right.
They knew it existed.
Yeah.
They knew that over 300,000 children in the United States were in foster care, but people really didn't understand the dynamics at that time.
Right.
And even fast forward, when I started, and the first place that I implemented Francesca's Journey was the YMCA of Yonkers. And the reason why I did, that's my second home.
Okay.
Family. David, he went to summer camp. They took swimming lessons every year. And then fast forward, when David got older, he became a camp counselor. Right. So, God put it on my heart, why don't you implement the book in their after school program? And at that time, Sean Patterson Howard, who was the first woman mayor of any city. Back then, she was the CEO.
Wow.
So, and I had knew Miss Howard for about 10 years. So I went to her, had a meeting. So she said, absolutely, what I want you to do is introduce it to the counselors. And I gave each counselor a free copy. They read it. They read some of the book, and they actually loved it. And they said, Miss Dent, absolutely. So one particular day, they scheduled a meeting. It was 12 kids. I went in. I did an introduction. I talked about myself in the book. So I said, well, who would be interested in reading this book? So 7 of them raised their hand. I said,
That's
okay.
wonderful.
So everybody got a copy of the book. I usually give them a good enough amount of time to read it, a month and a half to 2 months.
Right.
And once, most of them had finished the book, I decided to give them a book club party, which was the picture that you had put up.
Yeah, okay.
And, I gave them each a certificate of appreciation.
Yes.
And I gave the staff a certificate.
Right.
Just as a thank you for allowing me to, implement this into the program. It was the first time that I had ever had any kind of reading project
Right.
in their program. So now, fast forward, the new staff, and now they have a whole new set of kids. I'm reintroducing the book to them.
I love it.
Yes.
And you know what's important to me? I was never in foster care, but like your mom walked out, on you, and you never saw her again. When I was younger, I was waiting for my dad on a stoop. We call it a stoop in Brooklyn. Everybody sit in front of the building.
Yes.
I was waiting for him from 11 o'clock in the morning, outside all day long, waiting for him to come, and he never showed up. My mom came out about 7 o'clock that night and said, "Come on, you have to come in. It's dark out now. He probably not coming. He'll come back." And I'm like, but he always calls or come. He never says he's gonna come and don't show up.
Exactly.
Well, just like your mom, my dad never showed up again in my whole entire life until later on when I got older. I found out around that time he had passed away, but nobody knew where we were to contact us to tell us that he died. And when I found out in my 20s, it was like my father died that day.
Wow.
And I say this story to say to you guys that one traumatic experience in my life put a lot of emotions in me for being abandoned. Abandoned syndrome is a real thing.
Yes, it is.
And when you have abandoned syndrome from somebody like a father or a parent that you really needed in life, it makes you tend to be codependent on other people. And when other people don't come through for you or walk out on you or leave you, you feel abandoned, and it brings you into this depression as if it was that person all over again. And I had to learn to recognize that in order to, do and be things in life and be successful at them. So that's why I kind of like Francesca's Journey, because what the foster care system does is that these young children feel like they were abandoned.
That's true.
Because though they have families, these families they know are not their blood families.
Exactly.
And they always wonder, like, I want to know what my real mom was like. I want to know what my real dad was like. I want to know what my mother would have did in this situation. Why did they leave me? Or why didn't they love me? Or who else is my family? I know they're out. Maybe they're out there somewhere.
Right, exactly.
You grow up for your entire life, feeling abandoned, even though you might have a beautiful foster family.
That's true.
But you feel abandoned, and you have to learn how to cope. So somebody like me, though I wasn't a foster kid, I could still read Francesca's Journey and relate to a lot of the abandonment issues and the transitional issues from being abandoned to becoming successful in spite of all of that.
That's right.
So anyone that has a situation where maybe your father wasn't in your life, or your mother, and they still alive, and you feel abandoned, this book can help you.
Yes, it can.
Along with that, emotionally and mentally. But for respect of time, I want to get to the youth program that you just talked about with the book implemented. They read it.
Yes.
They get a lot out of that. And I see that from your nurturing spirit, because you was a social worker, you graduated from college with a human services degree.
Yes, I did.
And so you have that expertise, to put the academia, measures onto your work.
Right.
So coming in from that, you had a son that wound up being autistic. So tell me a little bit about that one, from when you found out he was autistic, and what made you decide that fashion would be the thing that he would love, to do, or would help him develop.
So, Danny had met all of his milestones as a baby.
Wow.
He potty trained in 3 days.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And, he was developing fine, but I noticed that he wasn't speaking, for his age appropriate. So because of the fact that I already knew about the resources, getting evaluation, I took him to the Rose Kennedy Center in the Bronx and got him evaluated. And that's when I received the diagnosis that he had autism, but he was very high functioning.
Right.
So at that time, besides being in an organization where we were advocates for families with special needs children, I made sure that, and that was one of the reasons why I moved out of the Bronx.
Okay.
Not just to start over, but because of the education. Back then, the city was extremely lacking in services for children with disabilities.
Right.
Extremely.
Absolutely.
So I made the decision to relocate
Mm-hmm.
to Westchester County, to Yonkers, and it was one of the best decisions that I could make. So he got an excellent education, but also at the same time, I was trying to break into modeling.
Right.
So
And we showed some of your fabulous modeling pictures, and when you look wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so
Yes.
much. So I went to a casting in Manhattan,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I met Jackie Love.
All right.
That's where I met
That's
Jackie.
where you're going to meet somebody like Jackie
Yes.
Love at a casting
Yes.
event.
Jackie Love Calloway. So she was there. She was talking to models that she knew. So, I kind of had my ear. And then she was telling them, well, I train children with special needs. So I was like, So I waited until she finished. I got up and said, excuse me, my name is so-and-so. I just finished walking, casting. I have a son. He is, at that time, Danny was 14.
Okay.
And he's handsome. He's very smart, and he has autism. I would like to bring him to your class. So she was like, okay. So, at the time I had my phone. So he said, oh, he's so handsome. So you know what, bring him in.
That's Jackie. Oh,
Yep.
my God. That's
She
her.
said, bring him in. So
Yes.
the following week I brought him to class, which was on a Saturday down in Manhattan. And her classes at that time were like an hour and a half. So, he was in the class for like an hour.
Right.
And she came out with him. She said, he's mine.
You hear that, Danny?
She said,
Jackie Love said you are hers and you on your way.
yes. She said, I love him. She said, what I like about him is that he's funny, but he's focused. He
Okay.
follows direction, and he has a nice body,
Right.
posture and everything.
Right.
And she said, he's gonna do great.
Right.
And 11 years later, we're still here,
Still
and
here.
he has grown.
He's graduated from school, which
Yes.
he's done everything
High school.
that you expect any other
Exactly.
young growing person to do.
Yes.
He graduated and he's doing his thing with the modeling. I mean, like
Yes.
I have some video of him that I'm gonna show in a few minutes of him in action. And let me tell y'all, if you're not a fan now of Mr. Daniel Z Leid, when you finish this show, you're gonna be looking to follow this young man because he's gonna be doing some things. So he got into
Yes.
with J Love, and he's been doing what's some of the events that he has
Oh
done.
boy! So Danny has modeled in 30 shows. He is a runway model.
Wow. Okay.
He has
Go,
done
Danny.
Fashion on the Hudson with Sophia Davis. He's done Rockland County Fashion Show, Fashion Week, 3 years in a row.
Love it.
He's done Westchester Fashion Week twice. Now we're working on getting him signed.
Okay.
He would with Tommy Hilfiger, GQ, Ford. So that's what we're working on now.
I love
And he
it.
would be the first child of color and male with a disability if he is.
Right.
And when he does.
And I think that's very special because a lot of people, one community that is discriminated against a lot is the people with disabilities.
Yes.
And I'm talking about hidden disabilities and
Yes.
physically seen
Yes.
disabilities. A lot of people, don't have faith in what they can do. And that's why I'm so glad that you brought Danny on the show, because Danny is everything that everybody should look at. We all have disabilities in one way or another. Believe me when I tell you,
Yes.
whether there's little hidden things or not. But Danny is a perfect example of anything you put your mind to, you can do. Society does not determine what you are able to, accomplish in this life. We live in a cancel culture where we allow everybody looking at people on Facebook, and I don't know if I can do that, comparing ourselves to others. You are your own unique individual.
Absolutely.
You are your own individual, and if you step out and do what you want to do or your desires are, and you do it, somebody else is going to be inspired by you. But if you think you're less than somebody else because you don't look like them, you're not supposed to look like them. You're supposed to look like you. You're not supposed to do it like them. You're supposed to do it like you. You're not supposed to feel like them. You feel like you. Because we all like the same things, but we are our own individual.
Yes.
And so what I want to do right now is just to show y'all. I could show you better than I could tell you. I want to kick this video off so y'all can see Danny and what he does and how great he looks and what he's doing out there. Roll that video.
Danny. Oh,
y'all gotta give it to
that's
Danny.
Awesome. Awesome sauce.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, like all of that beautiful work, I'm telling you right now, this young man, he gotta go, he had to do that. Let me do that. Okay? Just like that, because it's that precious, that treasurable, and it's that wonderful, you know, essence about him that he's out there loving what he's doing, and he's here and to give you guys inspiration.
Yes.
You know, like you and Jackie were so right. Like Jackie has such a good eye on what she sees and what she knows that's going to be a successful thing. And I really appreciate her because a lot of people like her would not take on somebody like that.
And a lot of people are not.
And they're not, and I think it's horrible. So if you got a young person, you're in the New York City area that you want to get in on these fashion shows, a young person that you want to develop and grow, look up J Love's Fashion School of Etiquette, please. And Athena works very closely with Jackie, and so do I now. I have become a sister of the circle, and I love it because I love working with people who care about people who are nurturers, people who are a believer in others, people who don't cancel people who accept you just the way you are and willing to work with you to create the success that you need to have a happy life. And that's who I experience whenever I'm around that circle with Jackie Love, you know, Maureen Singleton, you know, Athena, you know, Lenny Green from WBLS, everybody, you know, like all these people that come together that could be just like everybody else to say, well, you know what, you know, we can't work with that. We got too much on our hands with other people that, you know, that go get out, you know. They'll work with him, and he is doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
You know, so congratulations again on such a great work being that nurturing mom.
Thank you so much.
That you have done since you were 12 years old and now doing with your own children so gracefully. You know, you are inspiration in everything that you're doing. So tell me, what is coming? Well, tell me a little bit about this Phyllis Wheatley Book Award and what your plans are. You know, for the future, what you get ready to do coming up.
Okay, so I had been a vendor at the Harlem Book Festival for about 5 years. So one particular year, they had this book awards called the Phyllis Wheatley Book Awards. So I was
Right.
like, you know what? I'll enter my book. So I entered Emerging Cocoon. And I got an email about 2 months later that the book was selected as a finalist. So I was
wow.
like,
Congratulations.
yes, that was the first ever accolades I had ever received for any of my books.
Right.
So that particular year I went, I set up my table as normal, and then I got to go up on the main stage and read an excerpt from the book.
Right.
You know, it was an honor that, you know, and this they had this awards for many years, for many years. So I think for over, I think about 15 years. So, you know, I just felt very humbled
Right.
that there were other people that actually read it and they saw the substance of the
Right.
story. And you know, that for me, that's very, very important.
That's wonderful.
You know,
and you poured your heart into it.
Yes.
That's why they can read into that.
Right.
You know, to give you that opportunity.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, so I'm looking forward to reading some more of your books and being a part of, you know, what you're doing. But like if somebody wanted to start journaling, or you know, I started writing a book, you know, as well.
Yes.
It's called Take a Bow.
Yes.
You know, and
Okay.
basically it's about all of the performances that I had to do in life, real life, not just on the stage,
Right.
to get through and cope with certain situations. You know, and I started writing it, and it's just sitting, you know, in my computer right now. But it's a good book, is you know, and I you know think that, you know, I want you inspiring me to want to go open that file
no.
back up.
Yeah, no,
and
you're gonna
start
finish it.
continuing that
Yeah,
book.
that's what I do. I am a person who I encourage people that come up to my table and they tell me exactly what you just told me. You know, they started writing, they didn't finish, is in the drawer,
Right.
or they did finish it, but they don't know what to do with it. So I have a little brochure that I put on my table when I do festivals. It's free, you know, and it's just basically a guideline
Right.
to help you finish your work.
Right.
And then what I also do when I talk to people on an individual basis, I say, listen, you would do yourself no service if you didn't finish what you started.
Right.
And then not only that, you don't know how your story
Is gonna touch
gonna
someone
touch
else.
other people's lives.
Absolutely.
And I said, that's very, very important. Don't ever think that your story is not good enough just because you may have gotten, like me, 60 rejection letters from agents
Right.
who just didn't either have the time or they didn't like what I was writing.
Right.
Just know that what your story is like gold. It's like treasure.
Yes, you are like gold.
Okay.
And everything you went through is like a diamond.
Exactly.
A diamond in the rough does not look beautiful.
That's
It has
right.
to be polished and they chiseled and everything and shaped and formed before it can be precious and rare
That's
to
true.
everybody else that looks at it. So that's who you are. You're not worthless. You know, some of us need to be chiseled a little bit. Some of us need to go through, you know, what we have to go in our process of blooming.
Yes.
But if people want to find you, you know, because they're interested in getting your books
Yes.
or following you or supporting you, how can they find you?
So, for me, it's not just about selling books or my merchandise. I do public speaking. I go
Okay,
into
great.
schools, libraries, art galleries. If you have a book club, if you want me to introduce your book into an after-school program or middle school, high school, you can go on my website, which is www.unlimited/artist.com. That's www.unlimited-artist.com. And I have a contact page. So you can go on that page, you just put your information and you hit submit. And you know, and I also have clients. People that I've helped. One client I did research for his book. Another client, she need help finishing her poetry book.
Right.
So I help people in so many different facets. If you're a person who had a life well lived and you wanted to write your memoir, autobiography, that's what I do.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about, and that's very, very important. So please, people, reach out to Athena, the wonderful, powerful, talented, and inspirational woman, Athena Dent-Alleyne. Give her a round of applause, because, like, this show is only an hour. And honestly, there's so much more to talk about with you, Athena, you know, but your life and everything that you spoke about, in of itself. I mean, from when you were 12 years old till now, all that you have come up against in life that was supposed to be your downfall, you made a success in your life, including with your own son, you know, that's sitting next to you. So I want to ask him, because he's been sitting here, do you want to say anything? You want to say something to everyone in the mic? Hello?
Talk,
or anything?
Say hi, everybody.
Everybody, yes.
He said, hello, everybody. Yes. Give him a round of applause. He thank you for tuning in to him, clapping for you and your success and everything that you think and dream of for yourself. So is there anything, last thing you would like to say to the people before we close out this wonderful show?
I just recently watched the interview with Viola Davis and Oprah, and when it was over, I said we both came from the same quilt.
Right.
What I want to let everybody who's watching this program understand is that as a human being, we are all walking different paths in life.
Absolutely.
We are different, but we're all the same.
Yes.
And, you know, you've given me this opportunity to share, you know, about me and my books. But what I want to let people know is that you can always have a beginning. You can begin again, no matter where you've come from, no matter what you've gone through. Don't make excuses. Find a reason. Find a reason to be the best that your life can be. Be the excellence that your life can be. You know, whatever your problem is, find the resources. Filter out toxicity.
Yes.
Wherever it is, whether it's family, friend, or foe. Yes, the family part is very hard, but in order for you to be your authentic self, you have to filter out things that are not important. So when you the fact that you have, you know, put the spotlight on everything that I've done, there's a reason why I was able to do all of that.
Right.
You know, whether it is not watching soap operas or not being in everybody else's business on social media. You know, I took every single minute of the hour of the day to make sure that I accomplished something.
Right.
And for me, that's the family that I've come from. I come from a family of achievers. I come from family where it was the first African-American postmaster. I had a great uncle. So it's important that you take your life seriously, because as far as I know, we're only coming this way one time.
Only one time. So take advantage of those opportunities when you get them. And that's coming from the powerful, wonderful author, inspirational woman, and mentor, you know, Athena Dent-Alleyne. And her son, Daniel Z Leid, here today. Give him a round of applause. With that, we want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
so
tuning
much.
in. Thank you for coming out,
Thank
you know, to
you.
the show to share your struggles in life into your power that I'm sure it has inspired me and is
Yes.
going to inspire so many others. And thank you for tuning in. Once again, this show, Community Vibes with Brown Eyes, was produced by myself, Brown Eyes, your host. Happy to have you out every time. And it was also recorded here at Bravery Studios in Garfield, New Jersey, with my favorite engineer, Marvin. Give him a shout out, Bravery. Yeah. Marvin is the best. If you ever want to film a wonderful podcast, you need to check out Bravery Studios. They got it going on. It's not just a recording place. They like Athena. They care about you, and they are family, and they're a group of people that care about what you present and what you look like. So with that, I want to say that if you want to support Community Vibes with Brown Eyes, please, anything that you could give to continue the shows to go on, you can give to our Cash App, which is $Brown Vibes, $Brown Vibes. And if you want to get in touch with Community Vibes with Brown Eyes, because you know anyone that you think has a story or is in the community that want to come on and tell other people about what they're doing that can be a help to others, please contact us at Community Vibes BE as in Brown Eyes at gmail.com, and we'll be glad to hear you. And with that, we're going to end this show out with a heart from Athena.
Yes.
And we're going to end it out with a song for this powerful woman that I wrote called Ain't I a Woman, based on Sojourner's true statement. But this is a modern day statement, and it was produced by the wonderful and powerful producer King T Finesse. Let's take it away, and I'll see you all next time.
Peace.
This is for the woman you can't deny. The power in her stride. And ladies, if you feel me, put your hands up and let's break it down tonight. This is for the woman you can't deny. The power power's in your stride. And ladies, if you feel me, put your hands up and let's break it down tonight. Listen up now, sometimes I get vexed when I don't understand how a man can't claim who I am. I'm rough yet feminine to the touch and kicking around respect. I give much props as I flow, lyrics blow for blow, coming strong like the masculinity in any show. So what's up with the egocentric state of mind? You're blind, I'm doing fine, getting mine. Sick of the girly girl folk tales. Day after day, if you don't, then you fail. You see, I'm a woman who's gotta get a life. I know what's right, times are hard, the money's tight. I keep up the faith and do our jobs. Rapping on a like security guard, construction locksmith for doing the woodwork. Things that I like cause the money won't hurt too. Do little things that I need to make me feel real. Now let me tell you the deal. There's nothing like coming home to something you work for. There's nothing like ability to do more for something you build and hold for the future. Home life is cute, but independence is cuter. Some may think I'm a little out of touch, and the men in my life may not like it much, but the will is strong and I stand on my own. Still a certified woman right down to the bone. Come on, this is for the woman you can't deny. The power's in your stride. No matter what you think you can't do, you can do. So put it into action today and know that your life is worth it and the time that you here is worth it and people want to see you shine. So do that and we'll see you on the next show. And we out. Peace out.
Now hold up a second, it's the time that I'm checking. Tick tock on the clock, I be wrecking the mic with the thought of mine. You know that it's genuine. Line for line, break it down within no time. Kicking the flavor, feminine behavior. Take some now, or you can save it for later. A female MC, so there's no time to waste. Whether male or female, I'm rocking this whole place. So take time as I bust a rhyme. Mac this back, cause it's packed in the mind. The crowd is swarming, you know that I'm hyped up. The attraction for the action could never get me psyched up. Just grown up as a grown up and the people are shown up. Twist the tone up and I'm known up and down with the hot sound. The money making, taking and breaking, ain't no mistaking, never faking. Cause I'm shaking and baking, it's in the making money, nothing funny. No one to call me honey, silly rabbit, it's a habit. Tricks of the kids, cause like a car on a tar on the mic, I leave skids. Now let me say that again. I'm the money making, taking and breaking, ain't no mistaking. The faking and shaking, baking, it's the money, I'm raking it. I'm double the trouble, the bust your bubble, never stumble, tongue twist, no list, scientists, I can dismiss. Now, yo, I've set the tone, live and direct, certified to the bone. This is for the woman you can't deny. The power's in her stride. And ladies, if you